This is my old workforce vise. I've had it for years and years. It's been a staple in my workshop. It's given me great service over the years that I've had it, but I think it needs a little work. It's gotten to the point where it doesn't move that well, this right here has become a nuisance to me that we're going to solve today. And the biggest problem is that the swivel right here can no longer be controlled by this little screw because it is stripped. So I don't know if you can see there. This cast iron threaded area has become stripped. So we're going to put an insert into that and perhaps even change the diameter of this locking screw and get rid of this dealy bobber here, this back and forth thing, and just replace this screw with something a little bit bigger. But we're going to have to tap that out a little bit bigger and give it a better solution. So in order to do that, we're going to strip this thing down. We're going to lubricate it. I'm going to look for any other damage. I mean, these still function. They tighten nicely. And we're gonna put this back into another, oh, who knows, 40 more years of service. This thing's really been really great. I got some plans for it in the very near future. So let's go ahead and get started on this. All right, so let's get this thing cleaned up first. Get all this rust off of here. This is just a firm vinyl brush. It's not a wire brush. I just want to clean it up, not abrade it at all. All right, let's start taking this thing apart. A couple of screws back here. There's only one screw back there. Got a cotter pin back here. right? So you can see on this side. With the cotter pin off, I'll be able to advance this through. There's another set of slave threads in there that keep this normally connected, but that cotter pin and the bolt keep it from coming out. So we'll pull this center pin out, and then we should be able to free float this, no problems. Some light lubricant in here. No rust or anything, that's good. There you can see. Those are my threads. Those will give you the power on your vise. Here we go. All right. There's my the main arm right there. We're gonna lay that down so it doesn't fall. Okay, now we need to get this swiveling thing out. And I believe we've already loosened this back cap by removing that screw. There we go. See, there was a single screw holding that in. Right in one of these holes right there was a screw. All right, now we should be able to pull this baby out. All right, here we go. Boy, these got some gravity on them. There's some metal shavings built up in here over the years. We'll clean that up. That'll certainly make it a lot easier to move. Yeah, look at that. Years of evidence. That looks good. All right, let's set this down so it doesn't fall on my foot. Let's get started on this baby. Now this is what we really wanted to gain access to because we want to be able to tap that screw hole out. And if you look on the inside, you can see that that screw hole comes right to the edge of this mounting surface. So we have to kind of be careful when we put a bigger hole in there that we don't want to encroach on this other, I guess you can call this a bearing surface. It's really not like a bearing, but it's what it is. It's the surface that this thing rotates on, so we're going to call that a bearing surface. All right. This thing used to go right in there. you know, if I put a bigger hole in there, it's going to cut into that. Let's see where it actually binds. We're looking at where it bites. We should be able to see a wear mark. Here we can see it's right here. This inside bearing surface rides right here, and that screw runs right up into it. So actually, I don't think it would be a problem if that screw intrudes on that bearing surface. I don't think that would be a problem. We'll go ahead and put that in there like that. The other thing I was looking at on this is, what did I do with that? It's still in there. All right. I'm not sure that it is a really good design for this to be a flat surface. I mean, you got a flat surface into a round surface. I don't know how well that will bite. I'm thinking maybe when we're going to put a bigger bolt in here, for one thing. And when we do that, I'm going to get like a grade 8 bolt, nice big old black bolt, and I'm gonna make it pointed so that when we bite, it bites. It literally will bite into there and make a notch. Because I want that. I don't want that to be able to spin around. I know normally it would like spin around a little bit. It's not a lot of torque usually that goes on it, but for what I got planned for it, we're going to want that to be really nice and tight. So we're going to replace this with the next size up. It is kind of important to notice that this has a fine thread. And the fine thread is really good because you're trying to just hand tighten this and still get some good torque. And having fine threads will give you that capability. So when we select our bolt, we'll get a fine thread bolt. We'll get off to the hardware store. But that's the plan anyway. We're going to drill this out, tap it next size up. I'm going to put I have a kit here that I already have. These are 7/16 fine thread. I think 7/6 by 24. We'll take this to the hardware store with us to make sure that we match it. But we're going to put this in there so that we're not wearing on the cast iron. Part of the thing with the cast iron is, going in and out, it becomes abrasive and it gets looser. And then when you try to put some torque on it, you're really pushing on that. Well, cast iron's kind of grainy. When you put an insert in there, the moving part of the screw doesn't touch the cast iron. It's on this metal piece. So in theory, you should be able to get a bit more reliable torque on there. And so that's the plan anyway. We're going to put one of these in there and put the next size up and get like a grade 8 bolt. All right, so off to the hardware store. We'll see if we can get some parts. All right, so let's tap this thing out. First thing you need to do is drill it out to the right size. The kit that I have here comes with a die, and I keep the drill bit that's appropriate for it together with it, so that I don't get them mixed up. It's one of those things, you keep it with a kit and you'll always have it right when you need it. So I'm gonna go ahead and drill this thing out. It sure would be nice to have a vise to hold this in. Just kidding. All right, so let's drill this thing out and see what we get. That was incredibly easy. Now, the thing about the cast iron is it's kind of a soft metal, but you can see I've got a nice area that I can tap it out. I'm going to go ahead and clean it up and make sure that we don't have any weird debris in there, and then we'll start tapping it. Yeah, I go through some WD around here. All right. I'm happy with that. Normally I use a crescent wrench. I'm not a real fan of these goofy clamps, but we'll give them a go this time. Check to make sure the threads aren't fouled with anything from a previous project, because you don't want to snag anything on that. We got one go with this. The cast iron is kind of a soft metal, so we don't want to mess it up. A little oil in there, keep it all lubed up. Okay, that's going nice. Into kind of a tight spot there. Just make sure we got plenty of oil in there. Running it back and forth to make sure I clean it out. Worst case scenario is to break the tap off. You don't ever want to force it. When the tap starts getting hard, you want to back it up and clean it out and then go back at it. You don't ever want to force it. How far are we getting? Still got a ways to go. That's great. Good thread surface. A little easier now. Okay. I would call that a successful tap job. Nice and free moving. Okay, so I think you can see we've got a nice tap job in there. Where's the, here we go. Yeah. Some nice clean threads. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put one of these inserts into that. But before we get to that, we want to clean all the lubrication out because we're going to put some Loctite in there. We don't want the Loctite to be impaired by any of the oil that we had in there, right? So I'm going to use some brake clean to clean that out. Got just a little bit. That's all it really takes. All right, so I got this started, but I wanted to back it out just really quick to show you this nifty little tool that comes with these kits. They have a little notch. Let me show you how this works. Come on. All right, so you see on the end here they have a little tab, right? This little tool here, it has a little notch that it'll grab that little tab. See how it kind of grabs that tab? Where's the? And then you can twist it. Now the thing about these is that they're a spring, right? And you want them to advance. When you're tightening them, they get smaller. I don't know if you can see how it gets smaller when you're tightening it, and then when you let go, it'll spring and it will fill up all the voids. So we're going to go ahead and crank this baby in here. I got one already started. I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite red. This is the permanent Loctite, and we're going to get this in there so that it doesn't come back out. Just a little bit. Don't need to make a mess. All right. Crank this baby in there. Yeah, I think that's as far as that's going to go. All right. Pull that Loctite off of there. All right, so the other thing about these, it's kind of a neat little feature. I don't know if you can see right there. See that little nick? Whoops, where am I at? Okay, right there. You see that little nick in the end of the coil? What that's intended to do is once you get it where you want it, you can break it off. And so this little tab will break off, right? That's what that little nick is for, right there. And so you just take a little flat screwdriver and you pop it. I'm going to give it a little bit of time for that Loctite to do its thing. The replacement part that we're going to put in here, if you recall, the other pin had a little T-bar. The problem with these is that they're always in the wrong position when you want them. So what we're going to put in here instead is we're going to put this, it's a grade 8 with an Allen bolt head on the end here. That way we can just use an Allen wrench and get it into whatever position we want. I am going to take the threads off the end here and make this just a little bit sharper. I don't know, maybe this is okay the way it is because it looks like it will bite the way it is. I guess I'll leave that alone. That looks like it's going to do just fine. So that's what we're going to put into this. It should fit right in there. Whoops. With any luck. Yep. There we go. I probably could have got a smaller one, but I don't know. We're going to see how that one works out. Can always cut it. So that's what we're going to do in there, and it's going to fill that void, no problem. All right, let's get that dry, and then we'll move on to the next little phase. All right, so in this next little section here, what we're going to do is I'm going to make an adjustment to the main little bar that tightens and loosens the clamp. So the biggest problem that I have with this vise, or any vise for that matter, is that the bar only gives you 180 degrees of where you're going to be able to put some torque, right? So what I'm going to do on here is I'm going to put, I took a, this is a 3/8 to 1/2 inch adapter for a socket wrench, and I cut the end off. Here you can see there's the end that would have been a 3/8. It was like this. And I cut the end off, ching, and I flattened it out, and I put a bevel on here so that I can weld this into place right here. And what that's going to give me is the ability to use a ratchet wrench, or even an impact wrench, an air driving impact wrench, to open and close the teeth on the vise. So you don't have to fiddle fart around with this, goofy little slide bar. I think what I'll do is I'll put a rubber band on it so that it stays in the middle. But we're going to weld this right now, and that's going to give us the ability to use a ratchet, or even a breaker bar to open and close the vise. So let's get the welder all set up. All right, so you can see I've got the weld in there, nice little bead of weld. It's not the prettiest weld, but once you grind it down, it'll look really nice. So you can see I've already started to grind this side, and I'm going to go ahead and grind this side down, and we'll see if we can get a good taper between them. All right, grinding. Not a bad looking fillet. I'm going to go ahead and run a sanding spool through there and just make it nice and shiny. All right, so first things first. This sleeve goes right into here. These bearing surfaces mate. Originally there was some just general purpose grease in there. I'm not going to put general purpose grease in there. I'm going to put some white lithium grease in here. And the one real reason is right here. Does not oxidize. This could be sitting stationary doing nothing for long periods of time. This will remain loose. It's not going to get hard and get nasty. So just a light spray, because anything I put in here is going to get squished out. I'm just going to put a light spray in here. That'll protect it from oxidization and whatnot, and it will also give it a little bit of lubrication that it will need to operate freely. Just slide this baby in there. Oh yeah, that's nice and slick. All right, the next piece that goes in is this back cap. The back cap has the screws that this baby here is going to run on. So we're going to clean. See how this nasty old grease gets hard? There's no way that that's a lubricant anymore. It actually becomes a detriment. I'm going to clean all this off, and we'll put just a little bit of that lithium grease in there as well, just so that it has enough to run in those threads. That will go on the back here. You see how this little pin slides into that little slot right there. All right. There we go. This only had one screw holding it in, so I'm only going to put one screw back. Although there is space for two screws, there was only ever one in there. It's in my pocket. So the thing about that is that little tiny screw doesn't do much. All it does is it holds that in place. All of the force from this, when you're clamping down, goes that way. So it's just there to retain it. It doesn't need to actually have any kind of ability to hold anything with any force. So, all right. So next thing that goes in is the sliding bar, the big old honking thing. This right here. It weighs a freaking ton. It's very heavy. Let me get some of this old nastiness off of here. All right. Give this a little spray. All right, in he goes. He said confidently. Gotta get it to line up with that notch. There it goes. Okay. Again, remember there's a notch on the bottom? There's a notch right there that holds that in. Okay. Boy, that's looking much better already. Look how nice and smooth that runs. All right. Okay, the last thing here is our modified screw handle here. Make sure that you don't forget this washer. That's kind of an important component. That actually builds, manages the friction right here. And we're going to throw a little lubricant on there as well. Before we get it in here, I'm going to give these threads a little squirt. That's our biggest friction point. All right. All right, here we go. Okay, so you might be wondering what makes this thing come back out when you pull this, when you unscrew it. See how that kind of stays in there? Well, what does that is this little nut and the washer. These go on the end back here. Back here. And that's what makes it so that when you back it off, then it will go back the other direction. That's where the cotter pin goes. That little castle nut receives a cotter pin. This thing was just kind of loose. We gotta find where the hole is. There it is. Right there will be good. Right. Okay, that'll work. Now, the very last thing was the big project. The whole thing that started this whole thing was we're not using this anymore. Oh, look at that. This would fit straight into those. But we're going to use this new connector. Come on, threads. There we go. Oh, that's a finer thread than that one. I'm okay with the size. I don't want to have to fiddle with it too close, so I guess I'm okay with that. That makes it real easy. You can just do it by hand. It moves this way just fine. And then if you want to tighten it, you just tighten it. Well, I guess you need to have an Allen wrench in there. But there you go. Ta-da! So there you have it. This is my Workforce 5-inch swiveling vise. It moves all different directions. We have this new screw in here with the new tap. Everything's all been cleaned up, and this is the new attachment here, welded on a 1/2-inch connector or a 1/2-inch socket end. The cool thing about that is now you just take your ratchet and move it all you want. You don't have to worry about these freaking hoo-has. But I didn't take those off. They're still there if you want to just, do it with your hand. And it will run with your hand now because it runs free. So that's all good. But I mean, heck, you could even use an impact wrench or a pneumatic wrench and just put a 1/2-inch drive in there. Or a breaker bar, whatever you want. See that? How cool is that? All right, so that is this old vise refit and re-cleaned and ready to put back into service. Hope you like this video. Make sure you follow on, because if you can see in the background, zoom out, you can see in the background, I've got the old engine stand over there, and I'll be putting this vise on the engine stand. But that'll be a fun little project there too. So make sure, if you haven't already subscribed, check it out. There's plenty of videos on Alex's Garage. Have a good day.